All right, Josh. Well, I think it's that time of the podcast where we go over our top 50 favorite video games of all time. This is part five.
Yeah.
Wow. And we're going to be overing the top 10 on both of our lists, Josh.
10. The Big 10.
That's right. Before we go over the top 10, we have an updated list here of Haptic Intel's top 10 games of all time. How we're doing this is we're taking all of the games on both of our lists. We're assigning them point values. So, for example, number 1 on my list will get 50 points. Number 1 on Josh's list will get 50 points. And then if the game was placed at number, say, 50 on my list, it gets 1 point. So it's kind of like the reverse, right?
Right.
So, Josh, if you don't mind, I'm just going to quickly run down the list of our top 10 games. Does that sound all right?
Yeah. Yeah, please do. And just full disclosure, this is skewed. This is going to change immediately after we're done talking about this again. And then next week, we will go in depth at Haptic Intel's top 10 of all time.
It'll be the final. The final.
Right. Right.
So as of right now, Josh, number 10 on Haptic Intel's top 10 favorite video games of all time is Demon's Souls with 40 points.
Mm-hmm.
Following that, we have Resident Evil 4 with 40 points as well. Then we have Apex Legends with 42 points. Mm-hmm. Next up, we have Overwatch with 44 points, I'm sorry. Next up, we have Doom 2016, right?
Mm-hmm.
55 points. Then we have Resident Evil 2 Remake with 59 points. Next up, The Last of Us with 61 points. These points are getting higher and higher.
Mm-hmm.
Next one, we have Mario Odyssey with 64 points. Number 2 on our list is Resident Evil 7 with 69 points. Nice. And number 1 is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild with 75 points. So that's that. Like we said, those numbers and those rankings are going to change as soon as we're done this segment. So, be on the lookout. I'm sure you could figure it out yourselves based on what we say in the next, 20, 30 minutes, what our top 10 games of all time are. But just wait. Next week, we'll do the full rundown. We'll give you the final results.
Yep.
So, Josh.
All right. Yeah, I think it's your turn to start this week.
All right.
So, why don't you kick us off with your number 10?
All right, Josh. Number 10 is a game that I don't know if it's on your list or not. I forget. I think it was. Mm-hmm. So I'll say it, and then you tell me if it was on your list. It is Far Cry 3.
It was in my honorable mentions, I believe.
Okay. So...
Wow, this is high, brother.
Yeah, it is high.
Wow.
So Far Cry 3, to me, was one of the first big AAA games I remember being pretty blown away by. In my opinion, it is the best Far Cry game, and they haven't even come close.
Yeah.
Okay? They haven't even come close. I'll tell you this. This almost certainly stems from the portrayal of the character Voss by Michael Mando, his name is, correct? The actor?
Yeah. I think it's pronounced Mando. Yes.
Okay.
You're correct.
He's fantastic, and the character of Voss is incredible. I can't believe that this character met the fate he did, because they could have done so much more with him. He could have been the huge villain of the entire franchise, in my opinion. The best part, Josh, is that he's not even the main villain of the game.
It's true.
So
it's true.
There's that.
But he's the most memorable parts of that game.
He is. I think that he's just so fantastic, and I think the game is fantastic. I mean, it has the tower climbing, activating the thing, and the whole map opens up. Feature that all Ubisoft games have now, unfortunately. And it has the crafting and the hunting that Far Cry is known for now, where you would craft pouches and backpack space by hunting different animals. I just think that the whole story of this game, the world of Far Cry 3, is great. And I think that the performances, especially by Michael Mando, are incredible.
Yeah.
I remember playing this game, and you played this game as well. And I remember you and I just talking about how awesome it was. And it's just such a memorable game. It had to be in my top 10. It had to be. If it wasn't in my top 10, it had to at least be in my top 20 because it just meant, like, the story meant a lot to me. And I liked it. And the ending with, I don't want to spoil it, but there's a certain ending of this game.
I think it's fine at this point. I mean,
Okay.
Spoiler warning. Skip ahead a couple of seconds if you don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
This game is like fucking 30,000 years old.
There's a game where you literally have sex with the main villain of the game, and then she literally murders you. It's fucking awesome. So, yeah. So Far Cry 3 as my top 10, number 10 pick.
Nice.
All right.
All right, Brett. My number 10. The first, but not the last, Star Wars game that you're going to get on this list.
Oh.
So today. And that is Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic.
Wow.
This had to be on my list, folks. For those of you that don't know, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and specifically this game is the benchmark that I essentially hold all other Star Wars games to. And you either fall below that benchmark or you exceed it. And in my opinion, there's only one game that exceeded it, which we'll get to. But Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. I mean, Star Wars RPG equals Josh happy.
Yep.
Okay? That's the long and short of it. This game captured my imagination as a kid. The stories I remember experiencing and just thinking about all the time playing this game. The story itself that's within the game, the elements within it. Unfortunately, it doesn't hold up super well now. I've always tried to go back occasionally to try to play it, but it's very dated, which is why I want new games like this made and stories in this time period told. Because that's what it comes down to, Brett, is that in this game, you get something that we haven't experienced in any other Star Wars medium, really, is warring factions, huge warring factions between the Sith and the Jedi. I mean, you have hundreds on both sides, right? This is the reason why we have the rule of two, right? That's what this video game establishes, is that you have so many Sith that eventually they're going to implode on each other and fight within themselves because the dark side doesn't allow that, right? This introduces so many iconic characters that are now being brought back in Star Wars media that we see. It is a landmark in Star Wars storytelling and one of not just my favorite games of all time, but in my opinion, one of the best Star Wars games and Star Wars stories of all time. So had to be in my top 10.
Great. I actually didn't know you even played that. Like, we never talk about it. Like, I didn't even know that that was a game you played.
Yeah, when I was young.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's a good one. That's a good pick. That's a game that a lot of people would probably say is in their top 10. So
yeah,
that's a good one.
Yeah. But I mean, we don't talk about it really because I know it's a game that you and really nobody else in our friend group has experienced really, except for maybe Sean.
Mm-hmm.
But even Sean only knows the lore. I don't know if he's actually ever played the game. So.
Yeah, I don't think he has. Okay, cool. Wow. Good pick.
Mm-hmm.
Number 9 for me on my list is Fallout 3. So again, this is another game with a great narrative, another game with a great world. Okay. DC in a way you've never seen it before. This was the first time I actually played a Fallout game. It was the first one ever. And I was blown away. Okay. There are things in this game that are so memorable. And I think that's what makes a lot of these games on my top 10 my favorite, is memorable moments, right? Certain things that stuck out to me. I might not remember every detail, but just like the moment, you remember it. Megaton. Starting off as a kid having the birthday party, right? Shooting the rad roaches with the little BB gun. Okay. Yeah. There's so many great moments. There's so many great moments in this game. At the end with your dad, you finally find him. You have to make a decision. I don't know what else to say. How about the part where you go inside of the, I forget what it's called, the virtual thing, and it's like a 1950s black and white world. Are you kidding me? That was so slick. finding the random vaults and just going in and you read the little lore about the vault and it'll be like this vault had a bunch of fucking rad roaches in it. That's all we did there. It was just a bunch of rad roaches, and you go in there and there's mutated rad roaches and shit inside, right? So yeah, I think the reason I got this game was I saw someone on my friends list was playing it, and I was looking at the achievements, and all the icons were like the Vault Boy little illustration. And I was like, oh, that's a cool little guy. I wonder what that game's all about. And I thought the game was like that, like
Chibi like that?
cartoony, yeah. And I got it. I was young. I didn't know anything really about this game. So I got it and I put it in and I was like, holy fuck, it was not what I was expecting at all. The VATS mechanic, like that took a while to get used to. But, you know, there hasn't been a Fallout game to me that is, I know some people will argue like New Vegas was great. There hasn't been a Fallout game, in my opinion, as good as this one. It's just, it's fantastic. It's just so good. It did so much. It checked off so many boxes for me. It's just the fucking radio, like the Pip-Boy radio, all the songs on there. Are you kidding me, dude? I don't want to set the motherfucking world on fire, dude. I don't.
Yeah.
All right? 3 Dog, dude? Are you kidding me? All I need to say. Brotherhood of Steel?
Great choice.
Come on. Yeah, this game's great.
Yeah. Wow. It's a good choice. You just took me back down memory lane too, thinking about that game.
It's a great game. It's really great.
Yeah. It didn't make my list, but
I'm surprised because I know actually that you like that game. So I'm surprised.
I do. I love that game.
Yeah.
I love that game, but just didn't quite stack. I mean, it'd be an honorable mention if we kept going, but
Gotcha.
That New Vegas and Fallout 4 probably at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. All right, Brett. My number 9. A sequel to my previous entry, if you will. Another Star Wars game, and that is Jedi Fallen Order.
Wow.
In my opinion, this is the best Star Wars game ever made. It is one of the best Star Wars stories ever told. Again, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and this game encapsulates and checks every box of what I would want in a Star Wars story, right? You have a unconventional lead who is a fish out of water, right? You have a lead who has previous trauma that is related to the overarching story. You have an older mentor guiding this person, and then you have them going on a quest of self-discovery themselves. With the mix of, you know, the fascist overlords trying to take over and fighting stormtroopers and the cool, weird animals and species and all of that stuff. This game encapsulates it all. The worlds that you go to is slick. The way that it's laid out, right, the Metroidvania-esque way that you can approach it. And then really what it comes down to is the characters and the story. Seeing Order 66 in a way that we've never seen it before.
Yeah.
Experiencing Order 66 in a way that we've never experienced it before, because up to this point you really haven't. It's just, there's so many things about this game that work so well. There was performance issues at launch. I know I personally didn't experience any of that, but like all good Star Wars things, what I remember is the characters. And Cal Kestis is an awesome character. His mentor in this is an awesome character. The quest to go get your own lightsaber, being able to build your own lightsaber like that in any way that you want to, customize it in any way that you want to. And then there's a moment in this game that just takes your breath away as a Star Wars fan. And you all know what that moment is, and I'm going to spoil it right now because, Brett, you've beaten it, I've beaten it. I'm going to spoil it right now, so skip ahead a couple seconds if you don't want to hear it. But that moment when you're fighting what's she called? The sister?
Night Sister?
Night Sister, yeah. And Vader comes out. I mean, dude, took my breath away.
Yeah.
Like, and that is what I want Darth Vader to be upheld to. I don't need anything more with Darth Vader. I don't need him shilled to me, but when you use him properly and you use him in the right way and just enough, he can be breathtaking for all of the wrong reasons. He is insidious in this. He is fucking a loose cannon in this, and when he comes in and just fucking whips his big cock out and is like, "I'm here, bitch," and then you fight him, dude.
Yeah.
Get out of here, man. You always wanted that as a Star Wars fan, and you know it.
Yeah. That and Rogue One are probably the two best Darth Vader moments in Star Wars media.
Yeah. So I love this game, man. I think it's the best Star Wars game ever made, and that's all there is to it. There's no way it couldn't be in my top 10.
Yeah, it's a great game. I didn't know you held it to that regard. I didn't know you held it that high. I agree. Fantastic game. It didn't make my list, unfortunately. I had a lot of issues with it, but it's great. It's a great game. The story's great. I had a lot of fun with it. You know, I loved how it was almost Souls-like in the combat.
Yep.
So there's a lot of things that I liked about it too. It just unfortunately didn't make my list. All right, number 8, Josh. This is a game that you said couldn't be on the list.
Look at that smirk right there.
This is a game that you said couldn't be on your list because it's technically not a game. I disagree.
Brother.
I disagree.
Oh shit.
And not only do I think
Put it up this high?
Not only do I think it's a game, I think it is one of, if not the best horror games of all time.
Oh my God, what a statement.
This is PT,
Wow.
ladies and gentlemen. And there's 2 reasons why this is on my list. Okay.
Wow.
We're going to
Just blowing
start.
my mind right now.
Okay, good. We're going to start with this. Okay. There's 2 reasons why it's on my list. One is the gameplay, the game itself. And number 2 is the experience and the phenomena that is the game. So number 1, we'll talk about the game. What makes the game good? What makes it worthy of a top 10 in a best list, okay? PT is, by definition, a very simple game. It is a very, quick concept game. What if there was a hallway, a small hallway you walked through, and when you reached the door at the end, you poked back out on the other side, okay? Very simple concept. But my God, Hideo Kojima took that concept, and he's a crazy fucking human being, I just want to say. He took that concept, he put it on its head, and he said, we're going to do that, but every time you go through, something's going to change, or the player needs to do something in order for that thing to change. So when this game released, I don't want to talk about the phenomena yet. I want to talk about just the game itself. It's fucking terrifying, okay? It is one of the scariest games I've ever played. Why is there a crying fetus in the fucking bathroom? Why is there a random peephole in the bathroom? Why is there a woman shaking like crazy floating towards me? Why is there a ceiling or a fridge strapped to the ceiling with chains all around it with crying humans inside? Why is there random writing on the walls? Who are these old people in these photos? Why is there a guy on the radio talking about a guy who killed his whole family? What is happening? Okay. The game is terrifying. If you haven't played PT or experienced PT, it is terrifying. It is so fucking scary. Okay. Now let's talk about, Josh, the phenomena, the whole experience that is PT. I don't remember what the event was, but Sony has an event. I think it was Gamescom in Germany, I believe. They have an event, and they show off this new indie game that's being developed by a small indie studio. It's a horror game. They don't show much about it. They just show a graphic with the words PT on it, the little developer logo, and it says, demo available now. Go download it on the PlayStation Store. I'm a horror fan, Josh. I saw that and I said, I'm going to download that shit right now. Let's try it out. So another friend of mine did the same, and we start playing. Obviously, the gameplay loop, quite literally loop, happens, and I'm in the same room over and over and over again. And I discover that if I do one thing, I progress, and I'm now in a different looking version of that same hallway. So I tell my friend, hey, if you do this, this changes. We do that back and forth, and we're just progressing through this weird game, okay? It gets to the point, Josh, where it literally starts blowing my mind. the lights start. I'll be walking in the hallway. It's now green. I walk through again. It's now red. I walk through again. It's blue. Now it's a maze and it's completely different layout. And there's pictures of eyeballs on the walls that are spinning around like crazy. Every little thing we did would change the game, and we didn't know how exactly or why exactly we were doing it, but it was almost like a puzzle game, right? What did we have to do to progress? I don't want to dwell too much longer. Basically, we got to the point where we couldn't figure out how to progress anymore, and all of a sudden, a streamer on Twitch records the ending of the game, the demo. And it reveals, Josh, that PT is not actually PT. The PT stands for playable teaser, because this was a teaser for Silent Hills, a game being developed by Hideo Kojima for Konami with Guillermo del Toro. And then there's a cutscene at the very end, and it reveals that the main character you were playing as the whole time in this demo is Norman Reedus. It broke the internet, it broke Twitter, it broke my fucking brain. Okay? All goes quiet. You know, we're waiting for this game. We're waiting for Silent Hills. It never comes, Josh. The game gets canceled. We find out that Junji Ito was involved. We find out that this was going to be the greatest horror game of all time. And for that, I'm saddened. But we still have PT in some form on some consoles. Not everyone can play it anymore. It's, you know, you can't download it anymore. But it has one of the best legacies of a video game ever. It's one of the greatest, scariest, fucking most terrifying games I've ever played in my life. And it's worthy of a top 10 spot, and it's worth being on my list. And that's why PT is number 8, and I'll forever be holding out hope that we finally get Silent Hills or Kojima's horror game. That's it.
I agree. I would argue though that nothing that is produced without Kojima will ever be as good as what PT could have been.
I agree. If they do,
regardless of who's involved.
Yeah, I could care less if it's. I could care less of another. I mean, listen. Do I want another Silent Hill game? Yeah. Will I care as much if it's not this Silent Hill game? No.
No.
Kojima has such a fucking wacky brain, and the things he does in his games, like the Psycho Mantis stuff in Metal Gear, he just thinks about games differently, and that's evident with PT. And then, Josh, I don't want to dwell on it too much longer. I know I'm taking up way too much time with this one game. But then there's theories that PT all along was actually a jab at Konami. And he knew that the game wasn't going to get made, but they wanted him to make a demo for it. And he was like, why am I wasting my time? And the whole game was just mocking Konami because he knew the game wasn't going to get made. You know?
Right.
I just, if you haven't heard about that theory, look it up. If you haven't seen anything about this game, look it up. We actually played it on Twitch. I don't know if the replay is on Twitch anymore. I don't even know if it's on our YouTube channel.
It might be. But the original trailer that we caught when we beat the game is on our channel.
It is. So go check it out, guys. And, that's it. Josh, go ahead. What's your number 8?
Yeah. All right, Brett. My number 8 is a game that was already on your list. So I won't dwell on it too much, even though it's in the top 10. And I'm going to echo everything that you said. But that is Left 4 Dead 2.
Wow.
Yeah, Left 4 Dead 2 is my number 8. First of all, I spent a lot of time in this game as a kid. We did together. I spent a lot of time with people who, was friends with in high school, middle school, whatever. Come home, play this game, mainly the multiplayer when I was younger, and the mode where it's like you play zombies or humans, and you're the co-op
versus
whatever story. Yeah, versus mode. That's it. Played the fuck out of it, man. And then we rediscovered it again later and played it on 360 with some mods and other stuff. It's just, this game is like comfort food to me. I have a lot of fond memories of it. We still played it recently with that new, DLC DLC, whatever expansion. It's just a great game, and it is what I hold the standard to other games like it, as far as like co-op games and zombie games go. I know people didn't love the setting and stuff as much as Left 4 Dead 1 or the characters, but you also got them in Left 4 Dead 2 in a better version of it.
Yep.
Which I believe you said as well when you talked about it. So yeah, man, this I love this game. I have fond memories of it. But I won't talk about it.
That's fine. I'm happy to see it getting love.
To say.
I'm happy to
Love
see it
that.
get in love and it being so high on your list.
Nothing else left to say about it.
Ah. Well, Josh, number 7 is a game that was on your list already,
Oh shit!
and it is Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare.
Wow.
This game was going to be in my top
Fucking.
10 for sure,
Mm-hmm.
no doubt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, this
Makes
is
sense.
the first FPS game I ever played online, along with Team Fortress 2. I actually got it free with my first Xbox 360 that I bought used. Some guy sold it to me with a stack of games, and this was one of them. And I was like, I don't like war games. I played Medal of Honor when I was a kid. I don't like that shit.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my friends was like, dude, this game's like getting like talked about a lot. You should try it at least. And I did, and I was like, holy shit, this is phenomenal. From there, I played it with all of my friends, all the kids from school. It was interesting because even like the popular kids, quote unquote, we'd all play together, and then we'd go to school and we'd be able to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a really important game for me in my life in that time. And then you and I started playing it together, and we kind of bonded over it. And then when the remaster
Mm-hmm.
came out, we played it even more, right?
Yeah.
So on top of the single or the multiplayer being great, it has a great campaign, great story. It's the total package. It's one of the best Call of Duty games. It's my favorite Call of Duty game, and that's why it is the last one on my list. So
Yeah.
that's that.
All right, Brett. My number 7. My number 7 is a game that I think you probably knew was coming on my list. It is a Remedy title, and that is Alan Wake.
Yep.
Wow. Um, this game is a mindfuck. It is a masterpiece. It is a master class in horror psychological storytelling. And how I came about this game is very interesting. I knew nothing about it. Didn't know who Remedy was. Didn't know who Sam Lake was. Didn't know what Alan Wake was. Our friend Carlos,
Hmm.
if you remember, got really hype about this game, and he got it. And I think I saw a little of him play it at his house, and I was like, "Damn, this game looks fucking wacky, dude." So I went and picked it up and played it. It blew my mind. Um, it is equivalent to Twin Peaks, but not uh, as dreamlike, if that makes sense. Because it's a nightmare. You are literally living a nightmare. Um, it's just so cool, man. So you start off, you're a writer, Alan Wake. You go to this town, um, Bright Falls. You are there to try to jog some memory or just get rid of your writer's block and create another novel because he's a very popular novelist. And basically, what starts to happen, Brett, is you start living this nightmare of his writings coming to life. So you start to find notebook pages, or not notebook pages, but pages from this novel that he's writing that you then live and experience, right? You get disconnected from your wife, you're trying to find her. You fight these people called I think they specifically are called the Taken, and they're like shrouded in darkness that you have to shine light on them to be able to kill them and stuff. Light is your safe haven, and it's just so weird, man. I at the time I didn't experience anything else like this. I've never experienced storytelling the way that this did, is where you would find things in the world, right, that you as the character wrote, and then you would experience them. And if you didn't find those things, right, because they're essentially collectibles, then you wouldn't know how to combat the situation. So it's just a very interesting dynamic from the character's perspective of where you are living everything that you wrote, right? Experiencing your own nightmares that you're creating while also trying to save your wife. You have this awesome side character who is your agent or publisher called Barry, and there's a lot of like cool, funny moments between that. But the game does such a good job of making you feel such utter dread and hopelessness that those few moments that you chase throughout the game, because there's not much relief, are really, really impactful. And the voice acting is great. The story behind this game and how it came about is super interesting. Um, and it's just another example of my list of why I think Sam Lake is like the best writer in video games. Because he like Kojima or like a David Lynch, has such a different perspective and view on telling stories, right?
Yeah.
And how to tell them. It's just super fascinating. So I really want this game to get a remake, or I really, 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 really want a sequel to this game, because you can absolutely do a sequel to this game. The ending is slightly open-ended, to say the least, and you can absolutely do a sequel to this game. And interesting enough, Control started out as a sequel to this game, right? So when things happen in Control, and then there's a DLC in Control called Altered World Events that, I won't spoil anything, but let's just say things are happening that blew my fucking mind and reminded me of why I loved Alan Wake so much. So Remedy and Sam Lake, if you're listening, please make a sequel to this game, because I want it. Or remake this game and then make a sequel, because I want that too. And then take American Nightmare and thread it into the original game, because that's a great DLC as well. Sam Lake, I love you, and I love this game. So.
Nice. I started playing Alan Wake. I didn't actually get into it. I do want to try it out. If they did remake it, I would play the hell out of it. The only game I've played of his is Quantum Break, and that was a fine game. I liked it. So
yeah, and arguably it is a great game, and arguably the weakest.
There you go.
Set. So that just tells you.
Yeah. Nice. I knew it was going to be on your list. I know you really like that game. That is a game that you do talk about a lot. So
yeah.
All right, number 6. We're getting there. It's a game that you've already mentioned. I don't want to dwell too long on it. I agree with everything you said, and I actually spoke about a lot of the points I was going to bring up already. It's Bloodborne. First Souls game I ever played, if you want to call it that. The world is beautiful. The things they do, the stuff with the insight, how the world changes, as you progress, the different social commentaries, the political commentaries, the commentary on religion and science, combat, the mechanics of being able to heal yourself by, rushing in and getting a couple more hits off. Everything about it. Bloodborne is just like, it's not a perfect game, but it's a game made for me. I think the one thing I said I did want to save for when I talked about it is one of my favorite moments in the game. And it is when you discover an invitation. If you go back to where you started in the beginning of the game, you find an invitation. If you go to a location outside the Witches of Hemwick's boss fight arena, a carriage will appear if you have the invitation. It'll take you and whisk you off to a brand new area that a lot of people don't even know exist in the game. I would say 90% of the players that play Bloodborne have never even experienced this area.
Really?
I would say. It's very, very hard to find. You would have to know.
I guess we're just in the know then.
I guess so. And that's actually one of the things. I see you're in the know. One of the little messages you can leave. Yeah. So I truly don't think many people know about this location. It's optional, completely optional. And it's Martyr Ligarius' castle.
I guess you're right. It is fucking optional. Damn.
Canehurst Castle.
Dude, that fucking area is fucking slick.
It's a giant castle. It's actually more like Elden Ring style, like what you would expect Elden Ring to be, right? Like this giant castle. You progress throughout the whole castle, Josh, and when you finally get to the top, you have one of the fucking most insane, hardest boss fights you'll ever fucking see. One of the most fun boss fights you'll ever play. And it's the fight with Martyr Ligarius. He is fucking insane. He is the king, and he flies around. He throws a sword down on the ground. If it hits you, you get hurt, and then souls start flying around the fucking sword, and you have to fucking shoot it with your gun or smack the sword and make it go away. It's crazy, dude. And because of that, because I love it so much, I'm actually wearing his crown in Bloodborne. My character, every playthrough I do, he wears the crown, and I have the Canehurst armor soldier set. That's what I wear. So Bloodborne is fantastic. It is one of the best games of all time, and that's why it's on my number 6 spot. There you go.
Wow, you just blew my mind. Because I experienced that area on my first playthrough.
Probably because someone told you about it. You didn't.
Probably you.
Yeah, you probably didn't discover it on your own, right? That's the thing.
Dude, that area is fucking nuts.
Dude, there's like giant creatures.
And in a design perspective, it's so juxtaposed to everything else that you've experienced.
Yep. It's a snowy world.
Yeah, and listen, we talked about this game a lot last week too, so make sure you check that out if you didn't.
Yeah.
Um, because now I'm regretting not putting this game higher on my list.
The one area.
No, I mean a lot. I mean just us talking about it and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, not listen. It was 14 on my list, but yeah. All right, good shit.
Yep.
That's gonna be high. That's gonna be high on our overall.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Brett. My number 6. A game I know it's not even on your list. Another Souls game, and that is Dark Souls 2. I know you. I know you have a lot of problems.
Least favorite. Least favorite.
It's funny because it's your least favorite, but it's my favorite.
Different play styles, you prefer
Yeah,
certain things.
man, I fucking love this game. I fucking love this game so much. Some for all the right reasons, and some for all of the fucking wrong reasons, man. Uh, Brett, are you still there?
Yep, you're frozen for me as well.
Okay, that's weird. Anyway, a little glitch in the Matrix at Haptic HQ. Anyway, I fucking love this game so much, man. So first of all, the combat is right up my alley. It is slow, methodical, and thoughtful, in my opinion. And that is what this game caters to, is you have to be slow and methodical, because if you just try to go in and slash your way like a lot of other Souls games, you're going to fucking die. It just doesn't work.
Yep.
So here's how I play the game. Full Havel set immediately, okay? Full maxed out Ultra Greatsword immediately. Big fucking burly man going through and just fucking slowly slashing your way through the world. That's how I played this game. And it just met me perfectly. Now, something else I should add is I played this after playing Bloodborne. So Bloodborne was my entry to the series, and then I played this. I played through the entire game with our good friend Sean. Okay, so let me finish the good stuff before I get to the fucking abysmal shit about this game. All the boss fights are cool. I think actually playing through with somebody in this game made me enjoy it more. There's some design concepts with certain areas in this game, unlike other Souls games, that I think really benefit having at least one co-op partner with you. The lore, the stories, specifically all of the lore and the quest lines for the God, the I can't think of the name. The Jesus Christ.
Yes.
The covens, the fucking what are they called? The factions, whatever you call it in this game, are super interesting. That also lead to boss fights themselves, which are really really cool. And then there is just some of the dynamics in the world. Like there's a merchant where if you keep buying stuff off of this merchant, like he gets like full of himself.
Yeah.
And then it changes what you can buy from him or how much things cost, because you're the only person feeding his status, right? His rich status in the world. There's just a lot of cool little stuff like that. And a lot of really interesting areas and how you go about discovering them in this game. Like all Souls games do, like how the world connects is cool. But this in particular had some moments that just fucking like blew my mind. At the very beginning, when you get to Majula, there's a well. Eventually, you can go down that well. And it's literally presented to you at the beginning of the game. You would have never suspected, but you have to do a specific quest line to be able to get an item to be able to go down that well with the cat ring, and it's awesome.
Otherwise, you take fall damage.
Right. And then there is how the co-op works in this game.
Awful. Worst part of the game. Ruins the whole thing for me. I hate it.
It's so abysmal. It's so fucking abysmal. There is, first of all, something called soul memory in this game, which basically there's tiers to soul memory, and you can only summon or go to people's worlds that are in the same tier of soul memory as you. And soul memory just means literally how many souls you have collected throughout the game, right? From how many bosses you've killed, enemies you've killed, whatever it is. So however many souls you've had up to that point, whether you've spent them or not, determines what your soul memory tier is. So trying to play this game with somebody else is a very fine balancing act.
Someone specific.
Right. Somebody specific, exactly. You have to be in the same soul memory tier as them. And if you're one way or another, then you can't summon each other. And specifically playing with Sean, it doesn't impact you too much at the beginning of the game if you're going pound for pound with somebody, right? But Sean was doing a specific build that he was doing magic and spells, so he had to go off and grind and get some things that I didn't need, that he didn't particularly need help with. Same thing for me. I had to go off and get some upgrade materials for my Havel set and stuff like that so I could do that. So we would occasionally go off and do our own thing and then come back together to go through new areas and complete boss fights. The problem is, if you go too much in one direction, then you're fucking your buddy that you want to summon, and you can't summon each other. And trying to figure out, and us discovering that the soul memory tiers was a thing, such a fond moment in my mind of Sean, another example of Sean just being like, dude, you're not going to believe it.
And this is his number 6, folks. This is
6.
Josh's number 6.
Because I love the game too, but even more so, I love the memories around the game, playing with Sean, even if some of them are absolutely abysmal. It's just, I'm just so fond of this game in so many ways for both very good reasons and very wrong reasons. And that's why it's my number 6.
Excellent. All right, well, let's move on. We are now in top 5 territory.
Top 5, folks.
Things are heating up, okay? My number 5 is a game in a franchise that has literally a billion games. I boiled it down to one of the games.
Oh, shit.
I've been playing these games since I was literally 5 years old.
Wow. And
the game that I chose as my number 5 is Pokemon Soul Silver.
Oh.
Josh, Soul Silver and Heart Gold are the 2 best Pokemon games of all time. Hands down, no questions asked. That's it. And I like to believe it's not just my opinion and that the whole world agrees with me, but I don't know if they will. The reason it's great is, number 1, Gen 2, Gold and Silver, Johto, one of the best in the whole franchise. Okay? Not only just because of the content of that gen itself. Josh, you get to go back to Kanto. You get to go to Gen 1. After you beat the game, you literally get all of the first Pokemon game to go back to.
Oh, shit.
So you play through Johto. It's great. It's amazing. It's a great experience. Josh, you get on a boat. You head to Kanto. You go through 8 more gyms, and you go through the Elite Four.
Really?
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. The best part, though, Josh, is a memory I'll never forget as a young kid. This was with the original Silver version, okay? You go to this mountain, and you're fighting. You can only access this mountain after you've beaten the whole game, everything. You go to the mountain. You go to the very top. It's filled with, hard Pokemon to fight. Josh, do you want to know who's at the very top of the mountain?
Who's that?
Trainer Red. Josh, Trainer Red is the character you play as in the first Pokemon games. In Red and Blue. And you fucking fight him. And he has a team of level 70 Pikachu, Charizard, Blastoise, like all of the heavy hitters, dude. And you have to fight him. And the best part is how they treat his character is because in the original Pokemon games, you don't really talk. You just say yes or no to options, right? You don't actually have any dialogue. When you approach him, his dialogue is just ... Like, he doesn't actually say anything. He's a silent character. It's fucking great, dude. It's so great. So what makes Soul Silver and Heart Gold, right, so good as remakes? What makes them the definitive? They kept everything about Gold and Silver that made them great and just expanded upon it, Josh. There's things in this game. So number 1, you can make Pokemon follow you and they walk with you in the overworld. So whatever Pokemon's at the front of your party, they're walking with you. And that just creates such a different experience because you feel like you actually have them with you. They're not just in some menu. You actually have your favorite Pokemon walking around with you in the overworld. You can interact with them. This is something that they did in Pokemon Yellow version on the original Game Boy. And they kind of just brought it back for this. And it's a feature that I don't know why they ever took it away, but they did. There's another thing that they added. I forget exactly what the name of the item was, but it allows you to switch the music back from the newer remastered remake versions of the songs back to the Game Boy versions of the songs. And it switches every area you go in, it automatically knows and it switches it. And it's so fucking amazing. They added some like new story stuff as events that you could do, specifically like spiky-eared Pichu. Some people might know what I'm talking about there. Celebi. The stuff with your rival and his dad, who you find out is actually the leader of Team Rocket, Giovanni. There's so much stuff that they packed into this, and it's phenomenal. Pokemon Soul Silver is the one specifically that I played, so that's the one on my list. It came with the Poke Walker, which allowed you to take a Pokemon from your game, put it inside the Poke Walker, and it was a little pedometer, and you leveled it up by walking around. This is, in my opinion, being able to go and play in Johto and Kanto in the same game. It's the best Pokemon game, hands down.
Damn, where's our Switch port at, dude?
Dude, if they made a Switch port and it was literally just a port, like just DS game on the Switch, I'd be like, dude, let's go, hop on it, because it's fantastic.
I mean, from your description, I'd play it immediately.
It's not like more modern, obviously, because it was on the DS, but it was it was like right before the 3DS. So
yeah, very cool.
That's right.
All right, my number 5, Bret. A game you probably knew was coming as well on my list. That is The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt.
Nice.
First of all, I just want to say I only played this game because of you.
And I never finished it.
And you never finished it, and I beat the fuck out of it.
Well, because it was a situation where, it might not have been the game for me, but I was like, dude, This is a game for you. Like, you would like this.
And you were right.
Yeah.
So this is an example of a game when CD Projekt Red was good. This game is so fantastic, my man. Yeah. I mean, it is just top to bottom a fucking slapper. It is, in my opinion, like in the top 3 of the best Western RPGs ever made. More specifically, the top 2, I think, best Western RPGs from another one that is going to be on my list very shortly here that we will talk about. This game is awesome. First of all, the characters. All of them are interesting and super compelling. Specifically, Geralt and Ciri and your journey to find Ciri and get her. The flashback sequences. I mean, all the side characters. The way it's just so deep and complex. And there's so many intertwining paths of all these different characters' stories. First of all, you don't have to play Witcher 1 or Witcher 2 to enjoy it. I only played a little bit of Witcher 2. And I never played the previous ones. This game does a good job of giving you the backstory that you need for it, which is specifically between Geralt and Yennefer and some of these other characters. The opening sequence of Geralt in the bathtub, I'll never forget. That first part when you walk out on the balcony and you see how beautiful the game is. It's awesome, man. And then how everything is animated in the game, all of the side quests and your interactions with these side characters, whether the quest is small or large, there's facial animations and animations between them. It's so deep. It's just so deep and complex. And then there's the stuff with the Wild Hunt and the actual big bads of the game. And as you go along, they are fucking sinister. And the very end of the game, the set piece of it and where you are and how it plays out is just so mind-blowing. And at this point, you've been in the game for 70, 80, 90 hours. So the payoff is like monumental. And the very, very end of this game and the final confrontation with the Wild Hunt, I would compare it to something like Star Wars Grandiose. It is incredible. This game is fantastic. It's deep. It is one of the best Western RPGs ever made. I love it. I suck it off. It's just phenomenal.
It's a great pick. I mean, that was Game of the Year when it came out for almost every outlet, right? Mm-hmm. So, good pick. Mm-hmm. All right, number 4 is a game that might surprise you. It's this high on my list, but it was coming, and you knew it was coming. I told you it was going to be here, and it hasn't come up yet. You had it on your list, Josh. My number 4 is Portal 2.
Oh shit.
Portal 2 is one of my favorite games of all time, obviously. It's my number 4
Yeah.
on my list. There's so many things that it does that, tickle me. We already talked about a lot of the great things about it in our previous video. The co-op, how it masterfully takes the concept of Portal, puts it in a spot where two people can play it at the same time. The complexity of the puzzles that they had to come up with for that. That's just the co-op alone. The story is phenomenal. They make Portal look like a tech demo. Okay, they take it, they give it a story, they make it bigger than it ever was. They take the test labs and they start making them dilapidated, and they introduce the character of Wheatley, who is phenomenal. The voice actor for him is absolutely great,
Yep.
and they just tell this story, man, and it's fantastic. There's one moment in this game, and we didn't mention it in the previous video, and the moment is what cemented it for me as a top 5 contender. Is when, spoilers, go ahead a minute or a couple seconds, whatever. You shoot a portal, Josh, on the moon,
Oh,
and that is how you defeat the boss. Is you suck
yeah.
them up through a portal, and they get sucked out into space.
Yeah.
Wow, what a moment! You literally see the roof ripping off of the boss arena, and you see the moon, and you look at it, and you're like, no. And you hover over it, dude, and it has the icon indicating that yes, you can place a portal on it. And you're like, no, but you can, and it does, and it happens. Uh, Portal 2 is phenomenal. What a game! Then the ending, the elevator ride up to the surface, beautiful,
Oh my god. Yes.
beautiful,
Oh shit.
unforgettable moment. And you finally you get up to the top in the cornfields, and they kick the companion cube out with you, and it's just you and the companion cube. All the stuff with Cave Johnson, the backstory that they added to the game, like old school test chambers and stuff. All the gels, the repulsion gels, and all of that. Like, none of this can be overlooked. This game is fantastic, and it's worthy of a top 5 for sure in my eyes.
Very good. Very, very good. That game's gonna be very high on our overall too.
Yeah, I think the next couple are going to be pretty high as well.
Oh boy. Okay. All right, Brett. My number 4. Um, in my opinion, the best Western RPG ever made, with a setting in Eastern feudal Japan, maybe a little after feudal, but in Japan, and that is Ghosts of Tsushima.
Nice.
Um, this game is a masterpiece. All of these games moving forward are a masterpiece, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, this game is a beautiful love letter to old Japanese samurai cinema, specifically Akira Kurosawa, which I'm a big fan. This game encapsulates it perfectly. The title sequence in this, it has the best title sequence in any game I have ever played in my life. You're riding the horse, you go out, it goes from that letterbox thing to full screen. You're running across the fucking field with the grass moving in the wind, and the music is just fucking kicking in, my man. And it's fucking perfect. And every part of this game is perfect. Now, you could make an argument that the story is not incredible, and I would agree, but the story is perfectly serviceable and emulates that old style of Japanese style cinema where there's more of a focus on the combat and how you get there rather than the actual complexity of the characters in and of themselves. But it's fantastic. It's gorgeous. They kind of took the Ubisoft like almost formula for open world games, but made it way more impactful and better. Like, the elements of the world that you interact with feel right and perfect, from the foxes to the shrines that you go to, which act as the towers to open up everything, the puzzle solving and the traversal ways that you combat that, the side, like, small boss fights that you can beat in one slash if you time things perfectly and unlock armor and lore. It is just a perfect game, a masterpiece, and a masterclass in video games. I love it. It's fucking slick. That's my number 4.
I haven't finished it yet, but it's a beautiful game for sure. They take things that, you know, they take a thing which is, samurai cinema, and they perfectly convert it into a video game format. And it's a beautiful thing that they treat it with care and they treat it with love. They're not disrespectful,
Right.
they're not being, what's the word I'm looking for? They're not appropriating anything. They,
Right.
you know what I mean? They do it in a beautiful way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree. Very good game. All right, top 3. Wow, we're here. Look at us. Who would have thought?
Been a long time.
All right, well,
Been 84 years.
it feels like it has, and it's time. It's time to reveal my number 3. Josh, quite simply, God of War. It's God of War. Sure. Do I consider this like one of my favorite games of all time? Yeah. But there's 2 more games that are, in my opinion, even better, which is insane. Because to me, this is like the perfect game. Okay. It is in every way, in the combat, in the story, and the acting. They made me care about a character like Kratos, a character that, up until this point, the only thing I knew about him was that he literally fucks bitches and quite literally gets money by just killing gods, okay? Big beat, like meathead. I didn't care about fucking Kratos, dude, at all. They made me care about him. And not only did they make me care about him, they made me care about his annoying little son, Atreus, as well. And their journey. And at the core of it, Josh, God of War is a very simple story. It's about a father who's teaching his son how to be a man, but struggling with revealing the fact that he's more than that. And on top of that, their journey, which is simply, we're taking our dead wife or, lover and mother, her ashes to the highest point in the realm, to set her free. That's it. That's all this game is. It's just so beautiful. The graphics, the scenery, the set pieces, the relationships. Baldur is maybe one of the best villains of all time. And I know I'm like kind of jumping all over the place, but as things are hitting me, I'm just saying them. Baldur is one of the greatest. The characters are amazing. Baldur is one of the greatest villains of all time. You know what makes a villain great? When you can relate to them. When they have a cause that you can understand and you also kind of agree with. They're not handling the situation in the way you would have, but you understand why. And this is
Great villains are the hero of their own story, dude.
Exactly. Baldur was a man who was hurt by his mother, who did everything she could to overprotect him, but in the end, it caused him the most pain of all. That's Baldur. And when you fight him for the first time as Kratos, is the moment you know that this game is going to slap your motherfucking dick off. And it does. It does. It absolutely takes your dick, rips it off, spins it around, and then puts it back on, dude. The way it's presented, one take, the whole game. Come on, man. The way the axe feels when you throw it.
Yeah.
This is a perfect game. That's all I have to say. I know it's going to come up for you as well, so I'll let you handle the rest. But God of War is just a phenomenal game.
It's just, first of all, Cory Barlog is like a fucking madman. I mean, and he's talked about it too, like his concept for this game with the one take and how it was being portrayed. Nobody was on this man's team. Nobody else thought this guy was sane in the head for thinking about doing this with God of War. I mean, and then seeing his reaction to the positive reviews and how it was received, there's a third act reveal. I mean, not even a third act. Like at the end of the game, there is a reveal that is monumentous fucking like implications that it presents for the story, and it sets up the next game, and that's it. And then there's a after credits thing after you go home that is
It sets up the next game even more.
this is the game that Brett and I talk about a lot of, like what we will hold all future narrative driven games to. This is the benchmark and the standard for that.
If you play this game and then you try to go back and play a game that came out before it, you're going to have a bad time. It's going to ruin every game for you. So if you haven't played a God of War, play everything else first, because this is going to ruin them all.
Yeah. And it's not like there isn't other great games and good narrative games, and they still are, but they're not going to be as good as this. It's like Breaking Bad in television. Breaking Bad is the pinnacle of TV, in my opinion, and nothing else will get there ever. They'll be great, sure, but nothing else will get there. So
that's right.
All right. That will come up on my list very soon, and I won't talk about it that much, but yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of crossover here with these next few.
Yeah.
My number 3, Brett, something that was already on your list, but I've got some things to add to it.
Okay.
And that is The Last of Us Part 2.
Wow, where was that on mine? That was number 13.
We've talked about this game a lot on our channel. We know that it's not for everybody. We know that people don't like that game, and that's perfectly fine. We don't support the negative outlash or backlash and the things hurled at the actors and the director and stuff like that. But I know this game is not for everybody. And I've said this next statement several times before on this channel, but I have never been challenged by a piece of media and art more in my entire life than I was with this game. These are characters that I'm already close to and invested in. And I think I should probably just say that I can't talk about this game and why I love it without spoilers. So there's going to be spoilers for The Last of Us Part 2. Okay, so maybe in the description, I'll like link around it, whatever, or I'll put a spoiler thing up. Just, I'm going to spoil this game right now. Okay. First of all, when Joel dies, right at the beginning of the game, and watching Ellie react to Joel dying is fucking soul crushing, my man. And I'm going to like tear up thinking about it right now. It is fucking soul crushing. And I cried when it was happening because, first of all, Ashley Johnson, man, holy fucking shit. If this isn't the pinnacle of performances for video game characters, I don't know, or the video game actors, I don't know what is. Like that moment, I mean, she lost everything. She is completely finished and done and disgusted. And you as a player feel similarly because you're like, what the fuck, man? This game just started.
Yeah.
And Joel is dead.
Not what you expect.
The game just started. And he fucking gets his brains bashed in by this fucking Abby bitch that you now want to go kill. Right? So at the beginning of the game, Ellie wants one thing. And you know what it is, and you're with her, and you're like, Ellie, let's go fucking kill that bitch. Let's go kill Abby immediately. She's done. I want to kill all of those people. You're on her side. You're feeling the exact same thing that you are. And then you play Abby, and you're like, why the fuck am I playing as this human? Why the fuck am I playing as her? I want nothing to do with her. I want her to die. How can I kill her right now as me playing her? Can I jump off of this cliff and kill her immediately? And the story is done. You want her dead. That is what you feel, right? And that's what the game wants you to feel. And then you go throughout the game. Ellie wants revenge. You're still there. But you keep playing as Abby. And you see what's going on with her. And eventually you know why she did what she did. And then you play more as Ellie and you're like, something's off here. I don't want to go down this path anymore. And people in Ellie's life are telling her, Ellie, you got to stop. This is it. And then you keep playing as Abby more and you find more about the characters and her loved ones and what she's gone through and why she did what you did. And you begin to sympathize and empathize and understand this character. And even at the point where you understand this character, you're like, but yeah, you fucking suck too.
The
You
game
both
makes you
suck.
the game makes you realize that the world is much larger than just Ellie and Joel. There's
Exactly.
It's more complex and there's more stories out there, and you don't even think. It basically says, like, you were playing as Joel in Last of Us 1 and you didn't even realize that the things you were doing had consequences. There were consequences to your actions. And one of them was, unfortunately, Abby's father was
Right.
someone.
Doctor.
Exactly.
That was trying to operate. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, in the game, I've never felt that dichotomy in myself experiencing a piece of media where you completely understand two conflicting characters' life stories and paths that they're on. You want both of them to stop, but you know it's not going to. And the world, like The Last of Us 1 does so well, is that here's the world. It fucking sucks. And guess what? Everybody in it sucks too.
Mm-hmm.
Things are not cut and dry. Things are not black and white. People do shit and you either live with it or you don't. And it's going to literally kill you, either literally, like you are going to die, or it's going to tear your life apart and you are going to be effectively dead. And then last point, at the end of the game, when you're in the kitchen with, oh, Jesus Christ.
Dina.
What's Ellie's? Dina. You're in the kitchen and you have this whole home presented to you, right? They're living together. They're happy. It's a little bit later. And you're like, okay, maybe Ellie's finally done. And then Tommy comes and they talk, and Tommy like still wants revenge, obviously, for his brother. And you don't think Ellie really does, but then they have this moment in the kitchen, dude, where Ellie is packing up, right? And she is going to kill Abby. That is her mission. And you as the player are so much like, Ellie, no, stop.
You're like Dina. You're like Dina, where you're like, you can't do this.
Yeah. And Dina comes down and she's like, basically, if you do this, like, I'm not going to be here when you get back. And Ellie's like, I got to do it. And then you go do it. And there's a fight, right? Both lose. Both lose. There's not a winner. You both lost. Everybody loses, right? You're both fucked.
Even you.
You're so fucked. Your finger's missing. You're all fucked. Everybody's fucked and bloodied and done. And you're fucking gutted and ripped apart emotionally. And then you go home and it's empty. And Dina's gone, and you're done.
You go to pick up the guitar. You can't even play.
And you can't play the fucking song that connected you and Joel. The person why you started down this path. And guess what? Your one last connection to him is fucking gone because you couldn't let go. And I have never fucking experienced that feeling of being so completely emotionally drained, gutted, and done in my entire life. That's how I felt at the end of the game. Done. And that is why this had to be in my top 5, my number 3. Fuck, man. This game is insane. It's incredible.
I agree.
And that's it.
All right. Great choice. I'm not going to argue your numbering of the game because I would have put it higher if there weren't other games that pushed it down.
Yeah.
All right. Number 2 is a game that I know is on your list, and it might even be your number 1. I don't know, but I know it's a game that we both hold very high. I'm not going to dwell too much on it because if it is on your list, that means it is in a higher place than it is on mine, and I want you to be able to speak to it. Josh, number 2 on my list is Persona 4 Golden. That isn't your number 2, correct?
No.
Then I will speak quickly about this game. I heard about this little game on the PlayStation Vita called Persona 4 Golden, and I heard it is the must-play game on the Vita. This is the first time I ever heard about the Persona franchise, and I thought, that game looks pretty cool. I got a Vita. It was the first game I got, that and Freedom Wars. Mm-hmm. And this game absolutely rocked my world. It was something I've never experienced before in my life. I'm not typically a JRPG player except for Pokemon, which is like baby's first JRPG. Mm-hmm. This game is phenomenal. It's so stylish. It is from the music to the art style to the battle system to the confidant system to, you know, the personas themselves. I've never played anything like this. The relationships between all of the characters in Persona 4 Golden felt so genuine and so real. They feel like that group of friends, you feel like you're actually a part of it when you're playing this game. And when you get to the ending and like, you know, you have to say goodbye, you actually get sad that you're leaving because you want more. So I won't say any more. I'm going to let you wrap it up, Josh. But you played it on my recommendation and beat it before me. That's how much you liked it. So I will let you, in a few moments, speak to this. Go ahead and move on to your number 2.
My number 2, Brett. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because we just talked about it a lot, and I think you basically said everything that I would have. And that's God of War.
Mm-hmm.
The perfect game. The perfect narrative game. The game to which all games will be held to in the future, in my opinion. It is a perfect narrative game. The combat is awesome. It feels so good. There's moments in this game that even if you haven't played God of War games before, specifically thinking like the Blades of Chaos, I mean, that will just fucking rock your world. And that first fight with Boulder, man, that is what, maybe 2 or 3 hours into the game, right? So pretty much at the beginning. That's the moment where the game grabs you and it's like, let's fucking go, dude. And it just slaps from there on out. And it humanizes characters that have not been humanized before. The story is incredible. And the presentation with a single shot, like you said, is just... the game wouldn't work the way it did without it. And also I want to talk briefly about the tech behind the game because it, you know, was pushing the previous generation hardware to its limit when it came out. And thinking specifically about the fast travel, most fast travels, you open up a map, you click a thing, and then you can go there, right? And you go to a loading screen. No, you play the fast travel in this game. That's nuts. No game's ever done that before. It's fucking slick. I echo everything that you said about this game. It is incredible, beautiful, mind-blowing, a masterpiece. That's it.
10 out of 10.
Yeah.
All right. We're here, boys. We're here. Josh, I want to preface this by saying this was our list of our top favorite games of all time. So your list was your favorite games. My list was my favorite games. Now, my favorite game of all time, my number 1, is a game that you know. And it is also not a favorite game of many other people out there. This game is like a 7 out of 10 for normal people. But for me, it's an 11. Okay? It's not necessarily the best game of all time. It's not God of War. It's not Persona 4 Golden. But this game...
What's your favorite?
It's my favorite. It checks all the boxes for me personally.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of horror. I'm a huge fan of third-person action horror games, survival horror. And I'm a huge fan of things that can make me laugh. You know, we like to have a good time. We like to laugh. You know, That's just how it is. So my number 1 is a game published by EA, developed by Grasshopper manufacturer and Suda51, and it is Shadows of the Damned. Yep. Now, Josh, what do you get when you take Resident Evil 4, the creator of Resident Evil 4, Suda51, and the composer of Silent Hill, and you put them all together? You get Shadows of the Damned. That's what you get. This game is literally Resident Evil 4 on drugs. It is a third-person shooter, action, horror experience. You play as a character named Garcia Hotspur. You have a friend, companion named Johnson, who is a skull that turns into a gun called the Boner, and then it turns into the Big Boner. The game is just dick jokes the game, and that's okay because it makes me laugh. But the story, in my opinion, is actually a lot better than people give it credit for. You know, it's your typical damsel in distress. You have to go save your girlfriend, Paula. She gets captured by the leader of hell, essentially, and he takes her down to the underworld. Garcia is a demon hunter, and he's like, I will follow you to hell, and I will kill you, and I will kill anyone that gets in my way, and we will save Paula. And that's the game. You get on your motorcycle, you drive to the gates of hell, you fucking bust in, and you shoot motherfuckers. That's it. But the things they do, there's different things in the game that I think are really unique and really cool. So there's like darkness that happens, and you have to use this thing called the light shot and light these goat heads with like candles on them, and then it illuminates that area. You no longer take the damage that you would if you were in the dark area. So it's like a quick thing. You have to be quick with it. There's parts that are 2D. What is that style of game called? A shoot 'em up. Mm-hmm. Where you're playing as Garcia and you like move up and down, and there's like enemies that like you're basically moving sideways like this randomly in the game. That's just there. There's a character named One-Eyed William, who shits when you use him. He's like a checkpoint, and he leaves and he shits. He leaves a pile of shit. The boss fights are amazing. There's a guy who swallowed a harmonica, and when he talks, he's just like making harmonica noises the whole time. It's just everything. It came into my life at a time where like I was just looking for a new game to play. It was like $20 at GameStop. I bought it, and I was blown away by how good it was. I recommend it to all my friends because all my friends like the same things I do. They like horror, they like comedy, Resident Evil, which is a huge inspiration for this game. Resident Evil 4 specifically. So yeah, man, I think the soundtrack slaps. There's Evil Dead references throughout the whole thing. There's a part where you literally go to the cabin from the Evil Dead. And then I don't want to spoil it, Josh, because I want you to play it. It's my favorite game.
Which, I mean, not actively playing it, but I played the first little bit of it, and I have it, and I want to play it. So
I don't want to spoil it, but there's like a big reveal at the end of the game. It's a very tragic game. It's a very, ugly but beautiful game. And there's just a lot of weird things in the game that are just like, okay, they did that. And it's just because Suda51 is fucking insane, right? So if you haven't played it, check out Shadows of the Damned. It's my favorite game of all time. Not many people know about it. Not many people played it. If you're a fan of the series No More Heroes, or you know Travis Touchdown, there is a spinoff of No More Heroes called Travis Strikes Again, and they actually made a whole part of that game a sequel to Shadows of the Damned. So that'll make a lot more sense if you do play the original. So check it out. I love it. I know Josh would love it if he finished it. So that's my number one.
Very good. I got to get back to it. I enjoyed it from the first. I played like the first few hours of it, but I bought it on eBay, relatively cheap, and I have it physically. I know it was on Game Pass, but I wanted it physically anyway because I really like the cover. But yeah.
Yeah, I actually have it on PlayStation 3, Xbox 360. I have it digitally on both, I believe, as well, or at least on Xbox. And my number one goal, Josh, for our trip to Japan is to buy a Japanese copy because the cover is different and it's really nice.
It's very nice. I also want to own that. So hopefully we can both find a copy when we go.
Yeah. So that's that. It was published by EA. So unfortunately, the likelihood of it getting remade or like remastered, very slim to none. It was a commercial failure. It's become like a cult classic. So probably not gonna see a remake of it anytime soon. So just play it on your Xbox One or your Series X or S. So
all right. My number one, Brett, game that you just mentioned, you knew it was coming, folks, and that is Persona 4 Golden. To say I love this game would be an understatement. This is the best game ever made, in my opinion. It is my favorite fucking game of all time. Nothing will ever come close to my feelings I have about this game ever. I don't care if you make another game that's the greatest game of all time. Nothing will beat this game. You know why, Brett? That comes down to one word. That's fucking family, dude. This game makes you feel like you are part of a family. Okay? This game came into my life at such a opportune time. I had just recently broke up with my girlfriend of a very long time. I was not depressed, but angry and like just kind of going through the motions of stuff. You got a Vita. He said, yo, you need to get a Vita. You need to play this game. So you know what? I did. I got a Vita. I bought this game and Freedom Wars, both on your recommendation. And when I sat down to play this game, I think my first play session was almost like 15 hours long.
And it takes a while to get into it, by the way. The
It
beginning is a
does.
little slow.
I don't even think the game really starts or picks up until maybe a little after 10 hours in.
Yep.
And I sat down, I played the fuck out of this game in a single sitting, and then I was hooked. Forget it. Every free moment I had, I was playing it. This game, I was fucking sucking it off constantly. I played the fuck out of this
Hey,
game.
real quick, my
folks.
favorite time to play the game was in bed at night before I went to sleep.
Yes. Yes.
It was comfy.
It was comfy. And then I play it far too long and stay up way too late playing it. But it was it just the characters and how they introduce you to the characters and how you interact with them and the storytelling elements with the characters make you feel like you're part of a family and a team. And where my biggest criticism with Persona 5 is in recapturing that element of it. And it's not even to say that the characters are bad in Persona 5 because they're not. I love them. You're part of a team, but it's not the same. Man.
It's more of a team, less of a family.
True. That's a good point. That's a good point. And then like the feeling you get at the end of this game when you have to leave them and you're going home, and it's just like it just encapsulates feelings that you had as a kid sometimes with either certain friends or family or summer vacation or whatever it was. And it just so perfectly captures that essence in a bottle and makes you experience those feelings. And the attention to detail and the care and your relationship with each character individually is so perfect and monumental and impactful. And the game, through its dialogue, right, which is really just text on screen, makes you understand how much you mean to all of the characters in the game. So then it just enhances the gameplay elements in the combat when you're in dungeons and you're getting fucked and you're like, who do I put on my team? Who do I go in with? How do I approach this combat scenario? And you find yourself getting impacted on combat and gameplay based decisions from your relationships with the characters. No game's done that for me before. I've never thought about that in other games. I would be like, okay, who's going to give me the benefit? And in this game, I'm like, no, who am I closest with? Who makes sense for this? I'm going into this dungeon to fucking, save this other person's soul. Who mimics that like the most? And the fact that you go through dungeons and learn a lot of backstory about the characters that are about to join your team later, it's just perfect, man. And then there's the fucking mystery aspect of it too. And the fucking villain, who the main villain is fucking nuts. It's fucking nuts. And I also just want to say, by the way, that I guessed exactly who it was accurately before finding out in the game. And I could probably find those text messages between us from way back in the day and texting you and be like, here's my opinion. Here's who I think it is. Because I think you got past that point before me in the game, before the reveal. Because then there's like 60 hours after that anyway. But
yeah,
it's just fucking perfect, man. It's also a perfect balance between difficulty as well in it. If you play, I don't remember if there's even a select, but I got my ass slapped quite a few times. But it never felt like you couldn't overcome it.
Yeah, there's definitely some hard boss fights in that game. But yeah. I mean, I think the themes of the game also, like, finding your true self, fighting like the doubt and the fear of who your true self is. There's a character, Kanji, right?
Yeah.
Kanji fights this thing of, I don't necessarily think he was gay, but he had this thing where, in his head, there was I don't know how to flamboyant version of Kanji, and he was afraid to let that out, right? Because he was supposed to be this macho tough guy, typical man, and he was a little soft on the inside. And you fight like this super, what's the word I'm looking for? Exaggerated version of Kanji that he sees on the inside as the boss, and that's the whole game. Is you basically fight the inner versions, the shadow versions of characters in order to find their true self and make them, come to terms with that, who they are. Right. So not only are you becoming friends with people, you're becoming friends with these people who have now found out who they truly are. Right.
Right. Well, who you had a hand in helping them with.
Exactly.
And all along the way are helping you do the same thing. The game is like, hey, don't box yourself in. right? Don't be afraid to let out whoever it is or whatever your feelings are. And yeah, guess what? There's some shitty people out there, but you can overcome it with like the power of friendship. And I know that sounds like cliche, but like just the way that it presents it, it's just like it just embraces the like not the absurdity, but the cheese of it all.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is it. You all have these opinions and feelings, so like let's just do it, man. Let's just like exist. And it's just I just fucking love this game so much, man. It is comfort food. It is slick. And then we didn't even talk about it. And let's move. We can move on because I know this is like a long fucking video and topic segment. But it's important. It's just the music, man. Is just it's fucking next level, dude. It's fucking ridiculous. Every single song is a fucking slapping tune, dude. It's just good. It's just great.
And that goes to every Persona game. The Persona games are just, they're known for having really great music. But this one specifically, it fits just like Persona 5's music fits Persona 5, Persona 4's music fits Persona 4 perfectly, right?
Yeah.
So, and the setting, we didn't talk about the setting either. What is the town called? Inaba?
Yeah.
What a cozy little town that game takes place in.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, listen, Persona 4 Golden is one of the best games ever made and one of my favorite games ever made as well. I don't want you to think because it's not my number one that, it doesn't mean a lot to me, because it does. Truly, all the games on this list mean a lot to me, specifically the top 10. But I think when we sit down and we see what Haptic Intel's list is, that's going to be like our true, our true list. Because you and I, we've been doing this for a long time. We've been friends for a long time, over 10 years at this point. Our interests are so similar. I think that we put together great lists. And I think in the end, our top 10 list of both of our lists combined is going to be just a bunch of fantastic, fantastic games. So,
yeah. I agree. And with that does it. That's our final, I guess, segment of our top 50 games of all time, part 5. Next week, we're going to be doing Haptic Intel's top 50 games of all time, which is just a conglomeration between Brett and I's list, averaged out over both of us. So if you liked this segment, like this video, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what would be on your list. Let us know if any of our top ones made your list. And yeah.
That's it.
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Josh and Brett really need you too. I love them. So do it. It would be a shame if you missed more of their videos. Hit the notification bell too, so you know when there is a new upload.